Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be learning about the branches of government. Before we begin our reading and anything, I want you all to put your listening ears and let's watch this quick video on the 3 branches of government. And then I will stop before our trivia, so I really need you all to listen closely to the video so that we know the answers to some of the trivia questions that it is going to ask us. Sorry. Let's see.
There are 3 branches of government in the United States. Each branch has a special responsibility in the lawmaking process. The legislative branch makes the laws. The United States Congress runs the legislative branch. Congress members introduce bills, which are ideas for new laws. A bill cannot become a law until it is approved by the executive branch. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. The President can approve or veto a bill. When a bill is vetoed, it is rejected. When the President signs a bill, it becomes a law. The executive branch also enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. The judicial branch is made up of courts and judges. The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest court in the judicial branch. Members of the judicial branch review laws to make sure they are fair. It's trivia time.
So I hope you all were paying close attention. So for trivia time, there's 3 questions that the video is going to ask you, and there's 3 answers to each question. So if you think the answer is A, hold up 1 finger. If you think the answer is B, hold up 2 fingers. And if you think the answer is C, hold up 3 fingers. And then the video will go over the answers. So let's begin. So here we go.
Let's see what you know about the 3 branches of government. Question 1. Which branch of the United States government is responsible for making laws? A. The judicial branch. B. The legislative branch. C. The executive branch. If you need to think about it.
So, like the video said, I will give you all a few minutes. I should see fingers up. Okay, I see a lot. Let's take a look.
Pause the video. Go back and peek at the lesson again if you need more help. The answer is B. The legislative branch makes the laws. Great job. Question 2. Who is the leader of the executive branch? A. The President. B. The Supreme Court. C. Congress. Correct.
Let's take a look. Okay, let's see the answer.
The answer is A. The President of the United States is the leader of the executive branch. The executive branch enforces laws to make sure that people follow them. Let's try one more. Question 3. Who reviews laws in the judicial branch? A. Congress members. B. American citizens. C. Court judges. Yes. The answer is C. The judicial branch reviews laws to make sure they are fair. Great job. Thanks for watching.
Good job, students. I hope you all learned something new if you didn't know. This is just an introduction to what our lesson are going to be focused on. Okay, so let's take a look now. Before we begin our read aloud, I want you to, I'm going to hand out your vocabulary task sheet for the day, for the lesson. So as you can see, let's go over this. I'm going to model how I want you all to fill this out during our shared reading aloud. So at the top, please write your name and the date. And then it's labeled vocabulary worksheet. So let's take a look. For example, we have our first term, branches of government. Who can tell me what that term means? Okay. It's okay if you don't know, we're going to go over each word. So branches of government up here is the separate arms of the U.S. government, each of which having its own powers. Good job. So that would include, who can tell me how many we have? Yes, Danny, good job, 3. So that's the executive, legislative, and judicial. And if you want to write that just in case, you can under the branches of government as an example, but you don't have to. All right, so now that I've modeled the first word in our vocab sheet, throughout the reading, I want you all to be filling this out because we will be turning this in as for completion points at the end of the day. And this can help us if we forget what a word means or we have to look back while doing our independent work. This is going to help us. So make sure to have this filled out. So now let's go into our shared reading aloud. So who can tell me, who remembers how we do a shared reading in our classroom? How do we participate in one? Good job. Yeah, Samantha. So we're going to be reading about the branches of government. And remember, when we participate in a shared reading aloud, you follow along silently while the teacher, so me, is reading aloud to you. So you're actively listening to those key points. So for each section, there's 4 sections for our reading. So each section, I'm going to stop and we're going to go over our academic language, which is our vocabulary for that section. We're going to look at some comprehension questions, usually 3 to 4, so that we understand what we're reading. And then the summary of the section so that we understand what each section was about, and at the end we can summarize the whole idea of the reading. So let's take a look at our passage. So part 1, so our first section is going to be page 176. So let's open that up. Okay, so let's pull up 176. So this is called the Illinois Adventure. Everyone should be looking up here. So I'm going to be reading aloud while you follow along listening. So, government for Illinois. The United States is made up of 50 states. Because they are in different places, they have different industries. They have different people with different ideas. Each state has different problems. Each state has its own government, own state government. In the West, for example, Arizona and Utah make laws about how water can be used. Water is very important there because they are desert states. California's government inspects crops for insects that might have been brought in with loads of fruits or vegetables. Wisconsin makes laws about fishing in its many lakes and rivers, and logging in its forest. Louisiana has laws about its docks, where ships load and unload their cargoes. West Virginia makes laws about safety in its coal mines. Illinois, which is our state, makes laws about its farms, since we have a lot of farms and grasslands, correct? All states decide how fast drivers can go on highways. They all decide how they will run their schools. Each state differs. Let's take a look at our state constitution. Illinois has a constitution that tells how our state government works. Our first constitution was written in 1818, when Illinois became a state. As Illinois grew and changed, new constitutions were written. Over the years, there has been 4 different constitutions for our state government. The last one was written and voted on by the people of Illinois in 1970. Okay, so let's take a look at the left side of 176 under capital cities. So government representatives meet and make laws in the capital city. So for example, the capital of the United States is Washington, D.C., and the capital of our state, Illinois, is Springfield. People who live in Illinois have to follow the rules of both the United States and the Illinois government. So we have to follow the rules of our country and of our state. So let's take a look at this chart right here. This chart says the General Assembly, the legislature, is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. That's what makes up the General Assembly. So Illinois has 59 state senators and Illinois has 118 representatives. All right, let's review our first section of our passage. So before going into the comprehension questions, we are beginning with some vocabulary terms that I have pulled out that I feel like they are important for us to learn. So, for example, state. Who knows what a state is? Yeah, Danny? Good job. A territory with its own government and borders within a large country. So, under state, in our worksheet, you're going to write this definition out. And if you want to write an example, you can say Illinois is an example of a state, because Illinois is a state. Let's take a look at our third word from our worksheet. Government. Who knows what a government is? Yes, Samantha. The making of laws or important decisions that control or affect all the people living in a community, state, or nation. So they control or affect our whole community. Let's take a look at number 4, laws. What is a law? Who can tell me what a law is? Yes, Eric. Good job. Any rule that government makes and that people in a society must obey. So they're like rules. Like, for example, Illinois has certain speed limits in the highway. You can only go like 50 miles per hour. And if you go above that, you can get pulled over, correct? Or say the schools have rules and no running in the hallway. That could be a rule, but a law is much bigger because it controls our state and laws for our country, our whole nation. Now let's take a look at the next one. Representatives. Who knows what representatives are? Who are they? Good job, Samantha. A person who speaks or acts for a group of community. So like a leader, correct? Yes. Lastly, our word for this section, Constitution. What is the Constitution? The written record of such a system. The written record of such a system. Right here. Good job. So those are our first 5 words from our section. I'm going to leave those up in the whiteboard so that you can copy them down and put your definitions on the worksheet. So now let's take a look at some comprehension questions. In this other whiteboard I have here, the first question says, what do government representatives do in the capital city? Who can raise their hand and tell me? Okay, good job. So they meet and make the laws in the capital city. That's what government representatives do. Question number 2, what's the importance of laws? Why is it important to have laws? Danny? Good job. So by having laws, they protect our general safety and keep each state on the same page for everyone in that state. So there are rules that have to be followed so that everyone in our state is safe, correct? Samantha, number 3. Can you remind me, when was Illinois' first constitution written and when did Illinois become a state? Okay, good job. She looked at her reading, 1818. So we're going to write 1818. How many constitutions has Illinois had? Good job, Danny. It's had 4 different constitutions. So for this section, we can say each state has its own state government. This is our summary, correct? With this being said, the laws for each state may differ. So one state can have a specific law and the other state could have no idea about that law. The government representatives are the ones that make and meet the laws, correct? In the capital city. The Illinois Constitution tells us how our state government works. Throughout the years, as Illinois grew and changed, so did the Constitution, which is why we had 4 different, because they've always changed throughout the years, correct? So that was for our first page, 176. Let's take a look at our second page, 177. So let's read that aloud. Follow, like I've said, proactively, right? So for this section, it's called Branches of Government. One way the writers of the Constitution of the United States prevented a president from taking too much power was to divide the government into 3 parts, or branches. Our state government is also divided into 3 branches. Each branch has certain duties. This way the power is spread out. So let's look at the first branch, legislative branch. The legislative branch makes the laws. The General Assembly meets each year to decide which bills become new laws. In Illinois, the General Assembly is made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives, like our chart in 176 mentioned, correct? So now, how a bill becomes a law. Let's take a look at that. A bill is a written idea for a new law. Someone writes the bill and takes it to either the Senate or the House. After legislators debate about the good and bad points of a bill, a vote is taken. If a majority votes yes on a bill, it goes to the other group. If a majority of the group also votes no on the bill, it goes no further. It does not become a law. If the governor believes the bill will make a good law, he or she signs it and it becomes a new law for Illinois. If the governor does not believe the bill will make a good law, it is sent back to where it started. This is called a veto. Now, if we take a look at our chart, this explains how this is the bill, which is the written form of the law, correct? Either it goes to the Senate or House of Representatives. And if both vote yes, then it moves to the governor. If they don't vote yes, then it never passes to the governor. But then, if it goes to the governor and they decide to sign it, then it becomes a law. But if it doesn't get signed by the governor, it will become a veto. It vetoes the bill. So, after veto, the legislators can vote again if they wish. If 3 of every 5 senators vote for and representatives vote for the bill, it can become a law without going to the governor again. This is one way the power of making laws is shared by both branches of government. It is an important part of our Constitution. So now that we've read through the section, let's take a look at some academic language for that section. So let's see. Who can tell me what is the legislative branch? What does that branch do right here? Good job, Eric. The division of government that makes the laws. So the legislative branch is the one that makes the laws. Now, let's take a look. Samantha, what is the General Assembly? Good job. Yeah, the General Assembly is the legislative branch of the state government. Let's take a look. Bill. What's a bill? Good job, Danny. A bill is a written idea for a new law. A written idea for a new law. Eric, what's a veto? What does it mean what's a veto? Yes, the power of a government official or group to keep something from taking effect. It keeps, in this example, it would keep the bill from becoming a law, correct? Lastly, for this section, a senator. What's a senator, Eric? A member of a senate. Good job. So now let's take a look up here at our other whiteboard and go over through some comprehension questions. Don't forget to fill those vocab words that are in our other whiteboard, and so you can have that completion of that worksheet. So let's take a look at the comprehension questions for this section. So number 1, what helped prevent the president from taking too much power? Yes, Danny, good job. So, dividing the government into three parts or branches is what prevents from the president from taking too much power. Because if there was only one branch, that branch would hold all the power. Number 2, Samantha, what does the legislative branch do? What do they do? Yeah, good job, correct. They make the laws. So we're gonna write they make the laws. Number 3, what is the General Assembly made up of? Remember that chart? What is made up of? Yes, Eric, it's made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Lastly, number 4, when is a vote for a bill taken? Yes, Danny? Yes, after legislators debate about the good and bad points of the bill. After they either look at it and they say they agree with it or disagree and why or why not, then they can make a vote. So, the summary for this section would be our state government is divided into 3 branches, correct? And each branch has its certain duties. This allows the power to be spread out and not just be held by one. One of the branches we learned in this section was the legislative branch, which is the one that makes the laws, like Samantha mentioned, and like we have in our definition. A bill becomes a law when it passes through groups till it reaches the governor, correct? The governor has the last saying, and if they decide to sign it, then it becomes a new law for the state. But even if it reaches to the senator and he decides not to sign it, he or she, then it's veto, which it would be sent back and they would have to go over the process again. So now, boys and girls, now that we've read the first 2 sections, we're going to keep doing this for the next 2 sections. Like I mentioned, we have 4 sections. We went over 2 sections and then 2 more sections. We're going to go over the academic language, the comprehension questions, and the summary for each section. So we should be halfway through our vocabulary worksheet, correct? All right, let's finish those sections right now. Okay, boys and girls, now that we've learned about the branches of government through the video and reading, now that we finished all our sections, let's do some writing. So take a look at this folio I'm handing out to you. So this is a folio that's gonna help us remember our 3 branches of the government. So I'm going to model 1 question of each so that we get an idea of what we're supposed to do during our independent work time. So let's see. At the top, I want you all to write your name. And let's take a look at the first page, which is the executive branch. So for example, here we have questions or statements. Correct, we have questions or statements. So who can tell me, what does the executive branch do? Danny? Good job. So we would write in complete sentences, correct? The executive branch carries out the laws. And then we would do the same for the rest of the questions for that one. So let's flip to page number 2, which is the legislative branch. This is a fill-in blank, so you could have fill-in blanks or answering questions. So the first fill-in blank, Eric, the legislative branch makes what? What do they make? Good job. So you would fill in the blank, makes the laws. The legislative branch makes the laws. Now lastly, let's flip to the 3rd page of our folio, which includes 2 sections, the judicial branch and the chart that you're supposed to complete. Judicial branch is, Samantha, let's fill in this blank. The blank make up the judicial branch of Illinois state government. Good job, Samantha. So based on our reading, based on what we reviewed, the courts make up the judicial branch of Illinois state government. So you were writing courts in that, fill in the blank. And you would do the same for the rest. And then in this chart, we're going to fill in so it's asking you the level, which gives you the United States, the Illinois, and Aurora is our city. You would have to fill in the blank of each head of executive branch and then the name. So for example, United States, who is the head of the executive branch of the United States? Good job, Danny. Yes, it's the president. So we would put in president and then our former president. So we have to do with our former timeline, like our present timeline. Okay, so now that I've gone over how to model, like I've modeled our folio, it's time for our independent work. I hope you all know what's expected. If you still need help, the first thing I want you to do is reread the text. After that, if you still need help, turn and talk to a partner. And after you've done those two things, then you can raise your hand and I will come over and help you. Sounds good? Thank you, everyone. So let's begin our independent work and let's get to work. Don't forget, once you're done with your folio, please bring it to the turn-in box so that we can check those for completion. Okay, boys and girls, let's bring back our attention to the classroom. Now that we finished our read aloud, we wrote our folio, and we watched the video about the branches of government. After each section, we stopped and went over some key vocabulary, answered some comprehension questions, and summarized the information from that section. So the academic language we learned today included, here's the words for the first two sections. So we went over the branches of government, what a state is, what government means, what laws are, representative, constitution, legislative branch, bill, veto, senator. And we also looked into the executive branch, militia, court, judicial branch, local government, the mayor, governor, population. So our vocab sheet should include all those words that I've mentioned. Now let's take a look over the focused words that I know was where we focused the most our attention. So today we focused on the branches of government, which is the separate arms of the U.S. government, each of which having its own powers. That includes, right here, the legislative branch, correct? So we have the division of government that makes the laws. And in our sheet, it includes the two other ones, correct? The executive branch, which is the executive branch carries out the laws, and the judicial branch is the one that interprets the laws. So those are like our four main vocab words. But remember, all the words that are here are as important as those four. So to summarize what we've learned, each state has its own state government, correct? With this being said, the laws for each state may differ. So one state can have a specific law and the other state might not have that law. The government representatives are the ones that meet and make the laws in the capital city. And then the Illinois Constitution tells us how our state government should work. In addition, throughout the reading, we learned about the three different types of branches of the government, correct? So these include the executive, judicial, and legislative branch. Each branch, like we've learned, hold their own power and have certain duties. So for example, the legislative branch is the one that makes the laws, the executive branch is the one that carries out the laws, and the judicial branch is the one that interprets the laws. Overall, this allows the power to be spread out and not to just be held by one, correct? But yeah, thank you all for being great students, for being active listeners through our read aloud, for answering questions, for filling out your vocab sheet. Don't forget, before you leave, to turn in your folio. So staple these, put it in the turn-in box, and also your vocabulary worksheet to check both for completion and make sure that you all were working hard. And also don't forget to write your names. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next class. Bye, boys and girls.